Welcome in to the Full Court Report.
Welcome.
It's Saturday, January 16th is when we're recording this, just as to preface this entire episode. So, based on Toby's background, you can imagine what we're going to spend probably the entire time talking about, and that is the fact that James Harden, superstar guard, was traded to the Brooklyn Nets this week.
Unbelievable.
But we can get right into that. I think it was pretty interesting, and I kind of broke it down what happened through the week. On Monday, it was reported by The Ringer that the Rockets were growing more confident that Harden was going to finish the season in Houston amid trade rumors. Then the next day, after Houston's 17-point loss to the Lakers, Harden expressed his frustrations with the team, saying, "This situation is crazy. I don't think it can be fixed." Then on Wednesday, Harden was not at the Rockets practice in the morning. And then around 4 p.m. Eastern, it was widely reported that James Harden was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So in a matter of 3 days, it went from, I think we can actually keep this guy, to James Harden being a Brooklyn Net. I thought that was pretty funny. But I guess before we get into everything that we have to say, I should probably break down the trade, even though probably everyone already knows what the trade is. Nets acquired James Harden for Karis LeVert, who ultimately ended up with the Pacers, Jared Allen and Taurean Prince, who both ended up with the Cavs, and Rodney Kurucs, who ended with the Rockets. 3 of Brooklyn's unprotected first-round picks in 2022, 2024, and 2026, and Milwaukee's unprotected first-round pick in 2022, and 4 Brooklyn first-round pick swaps in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027 all went to Houston. Also involved in the trade was Victor Oladipo and Dante Exum, and a future second-round pick from the Pacers, all of which also went to Houston. So, what were your guys' immediate reactions to this trade?
Oh my god. I can't believe James Harden's on Toby's team now.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I was starstruck. I was shocked. I was at a loss for words. If somebody had told me that, like 3 years ago, if somebody had told me that we would have Durant, Kyrie, and Harden on the Brooklyn Nets, I would have, I don't know. It's still hard to believe, but I have mixed emotions about it. We had to give up a lot, obviously. James Harden being former MVP, probably top 3 scorer in the league. And at this point, I would say the Nets have arguably 3 of the top 5 scorers in the league. And with that, I feel like Sean Marks understands what it takes to win a championship, even though I don't think he has any rings. But it takes talent to win a championship. And you could have a very deep team where your bench is very good. All your starters are very good. But if you don't have those couple of, elite all-stars on your team, you're not going to win a championship. And I believe that it was the right move to go for Harden so that he could, pair up with KD, Kyrie, and he's going to be motivated to get his first ring. And it's mixed emotions because, I loved my boy Karis LeVert.
Yeah.
I love my boy James Harden. So that's how I feel about it right
now. Yeah, I was blown away. My first thought was, what is that offense going to look like? I'm not going to say there's only one ball, but like, it's a lot of talent that has to share a ball. Like, how is Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni going to get this to work?
I think
I
it's
mean,
oh,
go ahead.
I think it's good that we took a few days to record this episode because I think when it first happened, the thing was about it, or the thing about this trade was we had known for a while that James Harden was probably going to get traded, whether that should be to the Nets or somewhere else. But we kind of knew he was leaving Houston at some point. But I think once it actually happened, like once that reality actually came to fruition, it was just like a totally different realization that like, holy shit, he's actually on the Nets. Like what? I think I don't know. Like when I just heard it for the first time, I was just like, it I don't know. It just blew my mind because it's just like that actually happened. It's really
I mean, the fact that he even wanted to go to the Nets was mind blowing to me because
why?
I know that the Nets are the Nets now, but for the past 6 seasons, even going back as far as Darren Williams,
Joe Johnson,
ISO Joe, Brooke Lopez, like that, even that era, it was like Brooklyn is never going to get, just that elite star. And
Now they have 3.
now we have 3 of them. It's unbelievable. And
disgusting. It's disgusting.
it is kind of sad. We have like 2 players left from that D'Lo, Jared Dudley, Theo Pinson team that everybody loved so dearly. But the ultimate goal is to win a championship. And I think, especially in the East, I think Brooklyn now is put in the best position to do so. I don't know, but I have a feeling that Kyrie and James Harden, they're going to be the 2 that have to sacrifice the most. Kevin Durant has the ability to be just as elite off the ball as he is with the ball in his hands. But I think James Harden is going to have to sacrifice a decent amount of his scoring because he, based on what he said in his press conferences and stuff, he wants to win a ring really bad, and he's going to do whatever it takes to do so. He understands how good Kyrie and KD are when they have the ball in their hands, and I hope Kyrie feels the same. He hasn't been playing, but he said he's excited to be back, and fortunately we don't get to see him play tonight, but I think next Nets game we're going to be able to see all 3 of them. It's going to be insane.
Toby, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have take the back seat out of Kyrie or Harden? If one of them has to, forfeit a little bit of scoring and having the ball, who would you rather have them?
I think I'd rather see James Harden be that 3rd scorer.
Really?
Because when he's good, when he's like on his game, he'll give you like 50. But not every game. He's some games he'll just chuck up shots and he'll have a terrible percentage, but he'll just keep shooting and shooting. And that's good confidence, but I think coming off of screens, catch and shoot, he's going to be doing a lot of that. And
Nets just announced Harden is making his debut tonight.
Yeah, he's making his debut. I thought Kyrie was going to play, but I think health and safety protocols stopped him. But Kyrie has been with the team since last year, so it's not like he has a lot of seniority, if you will. But at the end of the day, this is the spot where Kyrie wanted to go. I think he wants to prove And I would like to see him prove that he could be, the best player on a championship team, even though everyone's going to say it's KD. But I mean, Kyrie is right there with him. The big thing is injuries. All these players need to stay healthy. I mean, if we had depth, we would really just need 2 out of the 3. But in order for it to work this year, everybody has to stay healthy because we don't have that depth that we can rely on a Karis LeVert coming off the bench. It's all the other players around him are going to have to step up, and that's really what's going to make or break them.
I think that is a good point, and I also think that means they're probably going to take their foot off the gas during the regular season. They're not going to push themselves as much as they probably will in the playoffs because they don't, obviously, like you said, want to get injured. Kevin Durant coming off an Achilles injury. So I think, yeah, I would imagine that none of these guys are probably going to be like 100% throughout the regular season. I think it's just going to be a completely different team once the playoffs start. But you mentioned, Toby, that I thought this was really interesting. It speaks a lot about what the league is today. You mentioned that, like, if you said 3 years ago the Nets would have Harden, Durant, and Kyrie all on the same team. I was looking at the roster for the 2018 All-Star game. So literally, 2 years ago? Or I guess 2 All-Star games ago? I'm pretty sure there's 24 people or however many go to the All-Star game. 13 of them are on different teams now. That's just crazy. Like, how does half the All-Star game is on a different team now? And that was 2 years ago. That just shows you how much superstars really run the NBA.
I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like, I like players that stick with their team, Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, and, organically win championships. But for the struggling teams, I don't think there's as much of a fear that, our team is going to be terrible for the next 10, 20 years. Because there's no telling, if you build a good culture, players will want to come. I feel bad for the Kings because they're really one of the teams that are in that situation where they just they're never going to be good, ever.
All right, let's get into some questions. Do you think that the Nets? The question really is who won the trade, but I mean, like, do you think this was a good move for the Nets? I mean, I feel like so often, and it's so weird to me that fans of teams are so hesitant on making moves like this because, like, in a bottle, Heat fans were like, "Oh, we can't trade Tyler Hero for James Harden." And like when you say that out loud, it sounds ridiculous because it's just like, what? James Harden is nearly a back-to-back MVP, led this league in scoring for 3 years, and Tyler Hero is a second-year guard who didn't even start for the Heat last year. But I mean, do you think it was smart for the Nets to do this move, or do you think they're going to regret it? Because like I mentioned, if this fails, because Harden and Durant can leave in free agency, not after this season, but after next season. So this could all come crumbling down very quickly. And then you obviously, just like I mentioned, gave up basically 8 years worth of draft picks. So do you think this is a good move?
I think it's a good move. I want to hear what Justin has to say. The Knick fan.
It's a good move if they make it to the finals. If they don't make it to the finals, then this might be one of the biggest L's in NBA history, low-key. It really is. Like, if they don't make it to the finals, if they lose to the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals, then they look like a bunch of clowns.
So who do you think the biggest now that they have Harden, Kyrie, Durant, who do you think their biggest opponent is, at least in the Eastern Conference?
Sixers.
Who do you think can stand up to them?
Definitely the Sixers, because the Sixers have Ben Simmons, who can guard all three of them, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie. They have Joel Embiid, who nobody on the Nets is going to be able to guard. And they just have pieces that know what they're doing. They have depth, like really, like the first 9 guys on the team could all, I mean, besides Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, they could really just trade out any player for whoever they want in the starting lineup or on the bench. So I think the Sixers still might honestly be able to outplay the Nets in the 7-game series.
I have a question though, because you mentioned that. Do you think depth is overrated? Because
No, I think depth is what wins championships, low-key.
you sure?
Yeah.
Because last year, during the Lakers run, at least, every time it was every series, it was, oh, the Lakers might have the 2 best players in the series, but their opponent has 3 through 10. So that could be a game changer. And then the Lakers basically trounced every team in the playoffs.
The Lakers had depth.
Yeah, but
they had depth, but they weren't.
the narrative in every series was they have only LeBron and AD, and the other team has this player, this player, this player, this player. Like, I feel like at a certain point, depth is just overrated when your best players are all MVPs. You know,
I agree. And
I guess we'll see.
I want to turn to Justin's response of the Sixers being the biggest competition, because I disagree. You mentioned that Ben Simmons could guard all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can guard any of them. Nobody can guard any of them. Like, KD is unguardable. Nobody's stopping him. Okay, they're not. I don't think they would put Simmons on Kyrie just because of the size mismatch. I think there's better matchups.
I don't think he's saying necessarily that Ben Simmons would completely eliminate any of them. I'm just saying I think if there is a player in the league that you would want guarding Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving or James Harden, it's most likely Ben Simmons or Kawhi Leonard. You know, it's like someone that is going to make it way harder than the average player in the league to score on.
Okay, but that's why you have the other 2 pieces.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. That's why I think the team is.
And really, you think Danny Green is going to stop Kyrie? Like, come on.
I mean, Danny Green's a good defender. He's not going to stop him, but like,
let's be real.
I mean, Toby, I don't think you understand. Like, they're not. I mean, they can, but I don't think all 3 of them are going to be putting up 20, 25 a night. One of them is going to have, like a 15, 16, 17 point game.
Let me put it like this.
That's a job well done on defense, if you ask me.
I think KD's only missed like a couple games. And every game he's played, he's scored over 25.
Pretty sure KD's averaging like 29 right now.
Yeah. And James Harden hasn't had the best start he's had in Houston, which is another reason why I think he should be the 3rd option. But the team I'm most worried about is honestly the Boston Celtics. Because they're starting 5. And not to mention they do have depth as well. A lot of young players. But Jaylen Brown is arguably almost or just as good as Tatum. That might be a little controversial to say, and Tatum is.
I agree. He doesn't get enough respect, and that's not even a slight on Tatum. It's just
I don't think that guy Jaylen Brown deserves all the respect.
No,
he's not that nice.
He is that nice. Okay,
he's like the 4th option on the team. Like, relax.
No. And he had like 45 the other day or whatever.
45.
And he's a really good defender too.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He's good defense.
But with the addition of Kemba Walker coming back, even though he was pretty lackluster in last playoffs in the bubble, they don't really have like a big man. Like, we're not really afraid of their big man, but just they're gonna keep going at you. And Jason Tatum, every single year I watch him, he just gets better and better in the playoffs. I think because of their experience in the playoffs and how much they're getting better. I mean, they almost made the finals a couple years ago. So I would say that they're our biggest competition. Everybody knows we know how to guard Ben Simmons. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Overrated.
You know how to guard Joel Embiid.
No, but whatever.
I just want to throw one last little thing in there about who the biggest threat is.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks are no longer a threat in the East. But I don't
What?
even think the Bucks will be a top 3 seed.
Ooh.
They should just trade Giannis
I don't
now.
think they're gonna-
That was my hot take. That was my hot take of the episode. I think the Bucks should trade
Trade
Giannis now.
You're on crack.
They're not going to win. They have
They're
no
still
chance of
good.
winning it.
They're still they could still eliminate anybody.
No, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever
I don't
heard.
think the Bucks will be a top 3 seed. You can write it down.
They might not be. I mean,
Even if they're not, I feel like, yeah. And I mean, I think I said that a few episodes ago. I feel like they're just going to coast through the regular season because they need their legs for the playoffs. I feel like their team is fine.
Nope.
I don't think they have what it takes.
Why not?
Just because.
What don't they have? They have Drew Holiday. They have a defensive player in the year in Giannis and an MVP. 2 shooters, elite shooters, and DiVincenzo and Chris Middleton on the wing. Drew Holiday, who's a lockdown point guard, and Brook Lopez, who can stretch the floor, and he's like 7'1". They can live. Their starting lineup is the most versatile starting lineup in the league, possibly. They have 5 players who can basically do everything on the court.
Yeah, but they just don't. They don't got the players that these other teams have. I'd say the whole Celtics starting lineup, except for whoever's matched up with Giannis, is outplaying the rest of the Bucks starting lineup. Same with the Sixers, and then same with the Nets.
I think it's an any given night kind of situation because Chris Middleton can go off for 30.
But he's not at the elite level. Usually, when we're talking about championship teams, and although we've seen other occurrences in the past, but there's usually at least 2, elite all-stars. Middleton is really good, but
he's a borderline all-star.
He's just not that playoff guy that is going to carry them when they need them to. Not to mention, I don't think they have the best bench. They got pieces.
Well, neither do the Nets.
But I mean, James Harden, come on.
So you think that the Nets are the favorite to win the East?
Yeah.
I do. Them are the Sixers.
And they're going to the finals. There's no way.
I mean, I would feel stupid to pick against the Nets.
Yeah.
At this point. And I would honestly enjoy a finals with the Nets and the Lakers because I feel like that would just be so much fun to watch, trying to see how that would work out between those two. All the narratives, KD versus LeBron, Kyrie versus LeBron, Harden getting his first ring, back in the finals against LeBron. Like,
LeBron's not making the finals, though.
Well.
They're definitely the favorite. But it's not a lock. I'm not going to give them a lock for the finals. Don't sleep on the Clippers, bro. Do not sleep on the Clippers.
I'm passed out on them.
You're passed out on them.
I don't. I'm slumped on those Clippers, man. I don't.
Bro, never mind.
I'm not gonna believe in them until they prove it. Simple as that.
Okay, but Kawhi's proved that he can be that dude in the playoffs.
Has Kawhi even been playing? I haven't heard nothing about that guy.
Yeah, he's been playing. He had
20. Everybody's just sleeping
against the Kings. I don't know. Well, I guess we can kind of, from Houston's point of view, we kind of just spent a lot of time on the Nets. Do you think that Well, I guess the first question, do you think Harden's time in Houston will be considered a success? Because he did spend, I think, 8 years there. And
yeah. This was his 9th season in Houston, but got traded.
So he spent, like 8.5 years technically. A little bit less. But do you think it was a success? He made it to the conference finals twice, lost to the Warriors. But I saw a stat. Outside of Michael Jordan and Oscar Robertson, James Harden scored the most points in the first 8 seasons with a single franchise in NBA history.
I think it was a dub. I mean, I think it was a success for James Harden and his Rockets. Obviously, they didn't get the championship that they wanted. But we got to keep in mind that he was competing against one of the best teams ever. I mean, the Golden State Warriors, which he lost to in the conference finals in a Game 7 without Chris Paul. And a couple years before that, where they were eliminated by the Warriors as well. I think in 2015. I don't think James Harden was playing, and I say this honestly, but I don't think he was playing with the talent that he needed to win a championship, even though he's a great player himself. But at the end of the day, he was the scoring champion. He was the MVP. He repped Houston to the fullest. And I don't think Houston fans should be mad. I mean, I don't think they should be regretful of his time in Houston. I think they'll look back at him and recognize him as a franchise player. And I think he's probably like considered a Houston Rocket by the time he retires.
Yeah, I agree.
You can go, Jorie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but like, I was just thinking about this today. There's like fans of the NBA who just started watching the NBA, like probably a younger audience that are just never gonna know what Harden was like in Houston, and they're only gonna know him as a Brooklyn Net and beyond, which is just so weird to me.
They're gonna know him as a
I
champ.
don't know why. Oh, no. But my favorite Harden moment from when he was playing with the Rockets was from the 2018-19 season. He was playing the Warriors in the regular season. The game was in overtime, and this was at the Oracle. So in Golden State. Golden State was tied at 132. The Warriors had possession with like 30 seconds left, and everyone was scrambling for the ball. And KD, he saved it, but he was standing out of bounds.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was watching it live. It looked like he kind of saved it because of the angle, and like all the fans were like blocking the lines and stuff, so you couldn't even see it. But when they went to the review, like his entire body was out of bounds when he had the basketball, and he saved it. And Curry got it, and he hit a mid-range jumper and put the Warriors up by 2. And I was just remember watching that live, being so mad because I was just like, they're gonna screw Harden again, of course. And then, literally, the final possession, he's getting double teamed on the inbound by Clay and Draymond. Gets the ball and just chucks up like a 30-footer, and it goes in. And I'm like, James Harden, this guy is literally. And then after the game, when they won, he just went up to the camera and was like, he threw up 2 fingers. He was like 2 times because he was in the MVP race that year with Giannis, and he's like, give me my MVP. Did you just see that? I just took down the Warriors by myself after they screwed me. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's for real. That was the coolest moment, I think. At least that I remember from watching Harden all in Houston.
So you think his time was a success in Houston?
I do. I think they put way too. I think, yeah, like you said. I mean, he faced the best, arguably the greatest team ever assembled, literally ever, and that was the only team that he really lost to throughout his time. I mean, he lost to the Lakers last year,
I think he lost
won the
to Spurs.
championship. Yeah, I mean, no, he definitely lost to other teams, but I'm like in terms of like teams where he probably had the best chance of winning a ring, the only
Yeah.
time he really lost was to that team. So, yeah, I think it was definitely a success. I mean, it's just crazy his story to think that he was literally coming off the bench for the Thunder, and the Rockets were like, let's take a shot on this guy, and then he ends up becoming arguably the greatest offensive player in the history of the NBA.
And not to mention, he basically built what the Rockets are now, and provided them, because he's so good, provided them for their future, where they were able to trade him and not lose him in free agency, and now they have a whole future to look forward to. So I don't think that Rockets fans can look at James Harden and be like, man, he screwed us. He didn't give it his all. Contrary to what Shaquille O'Neal said the other day.
I was just about to bring that up. I think for Harden, it was a W, because they gave him like the exposure that he needed. They gave him like the offense that he needed to become maybe a top 10 offensive player all time. Like he really could have just put up a 60-point triple double whenever he felt like it. Like he's had multiple of those. But I think for Houston, they might have taken an L on this one.
Really?
They only got, not only, they went to the Western Conference Finals twice, but they gave that guy Harden everything he needed. He asked for Dwight Howard, gave it to him, didn't do nothing. Gave him Chris Paul, made it to Western Conference Finals, give it to him. And then gave him Russ, and he didn't do nothing. Russ was out of there after one season.
Yeah, that's where I disagree, but go ahead.
Yeah, like that's exactly what Shaq said. Gave him all these people, never did nothing with them. So like, I think for Houston, they might have just been like, oh yeah, whatever Harden wants, he gets, and then he didn't deliver for him. He didn't deliver the chip.
People talk about Chris Paul, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, yeah, he was good, but Dwight Howard and James Harden, like that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Dwight Howard wasn't the same Dwight Howard as he was in Orlando. He was good.
Yeah, but he wasn't that much worse.
He was an all-star, yes, but with Chris Paul, like they're two primary ball handlers. And Chris Paul, isn't the same he's good, but he's not the same Chris Paul as he was with the Clippers, with the Hornets. I think it's kind of unfair to say, oh, he had all the talent in the world and he never did anything with it, because he's never really had an elite all-star as like his sidekick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, guys.
And there's a lot of players I feel like if you put them on that Rockets team, they would have made it all the way. But hey.
So what do you guys think that Houston should do moving forward? Because, I mean, like I mentioned, they got a bunch of draft picks, but depending on what happens with the Nets, those could be worthless. Everyone likes to say because the Nets, fumbled the bag earlier when they traded for KG and Paul Pierce, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to happen again. But really, I feel like a completely different situation. You have 3 players in their prime, all MVP level type talents. So I don't know. Those picks might not be worth as, what they were a few years ago when the Nets traded all those draft picks. So what do you think Houston should do now that Harden is gone?
I mean,
I think they should stay competitive. I think they should. I think with the roster they have now, they can still make the playoffs.
I agree. And
make the playoffs, keep them picks. They have picks till what you said, 2027, Jorie. Like,
I mean, they have first round picks, unprotected first round picks until 2026, and then they have pick swaps. So, whoever has the better pick will go to the Rockets. So.
Yeah, Yeah, stay competitive. Keep pushing for the playoffs. The whole starting lineup, they all have something to prove. John Wall has to prove that he's still a top point guard. Victor Oladipo has to prove that he's still, he can give you buckets even though he was just injured. He has to prove that he's healthy. And same with DeMarcus Cousins. He's got to prove that he can still be a valuable player on an NBA team.
And Christian Wood.
Yeah, and Christian Wood balling out.
That guy. He is that guy. He's scary because he's just big body. So he'll just literally put his shoulder into you and just get buckets.
You see what LeBron said? He was while LeBron was shooting free throws against the Rockets the other day, he points at Marc Gasol and he says, "Get on that guy's ass. That guy's a dog. Get on his ass."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they can definitely make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Christian Wood, versatile player. I like Jayshawn Tate, who's on the Rockets.
No clue who that is.
No one probably knows who that is, but I'm telling you, he's gonna be nice. He's a rookie.
Yeah, probably not.
No, he's nice. He's not gonna be like a star, I don't think, but he's gonna be a name that people are gonna be like in a few months. Probably they're gonna be like, oh, like how Lou Dort kind of just came out of nowhere for the Thunder.
I think that was because of his bubble game. That's when
I feel like people are gonna be like, oh wow, this guy's actually not bad. The Rockets might have something here. So yeah, it should be interesting. It's really a matter of waiting on Brooklyn to see what happens because I feel like their futures they're very reliant on what happens.
I don't think it's that different than to be completely honest, I don't think it's very much different from the Celtics trade that we did years back because it was like I was so excited for that Nets team. They swept the Heat in the in the regular season out of all the games they played, and I thought they genuinely had a shot at beating the Heat and making the final.
The Heat.
I seriously thought that they had won like 4 out of 4 games in the regular season, and they just had a squad. But
yeah, I don't know.
I am a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't think it's a make or break for the Nets. Like I don't think it's championship or bust because we still have next year. I think we still have
finals or bust.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I feel like when you get a collection of talent, everyone expects you to make it in your first year, but that's so rare. Like even when LeBron teamed up with D Wade and Chris Bosh, they didn't win it in their first year.
But that was kind of like they should have. Like, yeah, Dirk went off that season, but it's like if the Lakers lost to the Bucks now, like they really just lost to Giannis with pieces. That's really what it was like. They lost to Dirk and pieces.
I agree with that.
I mean, the Rockets will be fine. Actually, no. The Rockets might get screwed if James Harden comes back to the Nets after his deal is up. Because what I'm kind of just thinking in my head right here is if they don't win it, he's out of there. Like he's not going to waste his time staying here. He'll just be like, all right, on to the next team.
But really though, if he doesn't win, what does that say about Harden?
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right here.
If he doesn't win a ring with the Nets within like the next 2 years, I think it might just completely destroy him.
Let me tell you something right here. This man, Harden, every stat category goes down when he goes into the playoffs. His scoring goes down by over a point. I mean, it's not that big of a difference, but it goes down. His assists go down. His rebounds go down. His field goal percentage and his three-point percentage all go down, and his turnovers go up in the playoffs. So,
but I think that might be just a product of him being the only guy on his team that has to provide.
Yeah.
This is KD's team. KD's going to be the one, taking all the shot, or not taking all the shots, but you know what I mean. KD's going to be the guy, and they're going to be the two sidekicks. That's why I said James Harden is going to have to not be the primary guy. He's going to have to, take a step down, which he said he's willing to do because they gotta get that ring.
You know what's funny though? Just about Kevin Durant, it's that every time he teams up with superstars, well, everyone like in the past are like, oh, it's funny how James Harden has been the one that's been finishing like top 2 in MVP for numerous years, winning MVP obviously, but Kevin Durant, whenever he goes to these super teams, it's always KD's team. Like with the Warriors, everyone was like, oh, Kevin Durant, it might be Curry's team, and just in terms of semantics, but like Kevin Durant is the best player on that team. And then now he's at the Nets coming off an Achilles tear with James Harden, and it's like still KD's team. Like that says a lot about Kevin Durant, I feel like, as a player, that the fact that regardless of who he's on the team with, he's always going to be regarded as the number one option. Unless he literally plays with like LeBron. But like that'll probably never happen. So
Speaking of that,
you never know.
Speaking of that,
never happened.
My boy Max Kellerman on First Take made a great point. He said, if anything, the pressure is on Kevin Durant out of all three of the big three. The pressure is on Kevin Durant because it's his team. He's the best player on the team, and he needs to not turn into LeBron, but he needs to get that LeBron mindset where he needs to lead the team. He needs to lead his teammates. He needs to, set an example. He's got to get on everybody in practice in the timeouts, make sure everybody's doing what they got to do. Kevin Durant, is he really like that? Is Kevin Durant really that type of guy? Like, I feel like he's always just been like everybody does what they do. And then, if it really comes down to it, I'll just take over because I'm Kevin Durant. Like,
I think that's a good point because, early on with the Thunder, I feel like that was an issue. Like, who was the leader? Like, I feel like Kevin Durant was better than Russell Westbrook, but everyone thought Westbrook was more of a leader. And then he goes to the Warriors, and Draymond is technically the vocal leader there. And then now he's with the Nets. It's like you have Harden, who clearly has been pretty, irresponsible the last couple of months with this whole Houston situation, and everyone's questioning his leadership. And then Kyrie is a character.
You don't know what that guy's gonna do. Yeah, Kevin Durant needs to get these guys
go AWOL at any minute.
He needs to get them both on board, completely on board, and he needs to be the one to tell them what their role is. I think if it comes from him instead of like the coaches saying, "Oh, you need to take a step back from ISO ball every possession, Harden," I think it'll be better for the team.
I don't think. Well, Kevin Durant and LeBron James are two very different people. I think Kevin Durant's more of like a lead by example, or he's not going to, charge everybody up, hype everybody up, but he's just going to go out there and hoop and get everybody involved.
I think what Justin is saying is that he has to become that. Like he has to become that leader, vocal leader, not be someone that leads by example, but just leads by.
Because they don't need Harden and Kyrie don't need an example. They know how to play basketball, but they don't know how to.
They need a voice to.
They don't know how to work as a team. Harden and Kyrie have really just been like, I'm the best player on this team. I'm just gonna play basketball. It's not my problem if my teammates aren't good enough. Let the coaches and everybody else figure that out. They can't keep playing like that.
Based on what I've already seen in Kevin Durant's time in Brooklyn, he is kind of that guy. Every time somebody might make a mistake, Kevin Durant is right there telling them, not like, just giving them really good advice. But in terms of leadership, honestly, that role might be in Kyrie's hands because based on what everybody says, Kyrie's the one that makes all the calls. Kyrie's the one that wanted to go to Brooklyn. KD was like, all right, I guess I'll follow you.
Well, he said he felt blindsided because they went and signed Steve Nash. He didn't want Steve Nash. I've
Well,
seen a
I
bunch of reports that say Kyrie was like, I guess Steve Nash, like, yeah, I guess we can have him as our coach.
well,
It was all Kevin Durant.
he was the one that said they don't really see themselves having a head coach. Not that he said
Yeah, because they have a head coach as the assistant coach.
they have like they
Yeah.
have like 4 head coaches in the assistant coach spots. But
I feel like somebody has to become the single, like whether it be Steve Nash, whether it be one of the players, one of the three, but someone has to be take control of
every
this
time
whole
I see
situation.
videos of the Brooklyn Nets like in their locker room, like after a great win, after a loss, it's always Kyrie in the middle talking to everybody, like, hey, everybody give it up for Jared Allen. He had a great game. I think Kyrie is that guy. And I just hope people like other teammates don't get discouraged by some of his actions.
The thing is about that is that what happens when they lose? Because you just said, oh, he's a good spirit when they're winning. And like, oh yeah, give it up for so and so because he had a good game. But if they go on a 5-game losing streak, or if they go down 0-2 in the playoffs, is he going to be the same person?
They've experienced losses before. Kyrie, KD, Harden. They know what it is to lose. I don't think.
But are they going to accept it? I mean, look at it. Kevin Durant lost and then left the team. James Harden lost continuously in the West and left the team. Kyrie Irving lost and left the team. He went to the Celtics, didn't get there or didn't get along there, and then went to the Nets. So,
Well,
it's
yeah, that's the thing. It's not championship.
It's a very volatile situation.
Everybody is making it a huge thing about chemistry. I don't think that's really going to be the issue. When you have 3 elite players who realize that all 3 of them are elite, you're not going to push the blame on one of your other boys. The blame is, if anything, is going to go on, the rest of the team, which might not be the right thing.
That's not a good recipe for success.
That's not what you want. You can't have those 3 being like, oh yeah, we put up 30. None of you bozos are doing anything else. Like,
okay, listen, they're going to give you, all 3 of them combined are going to give you 70 to 80 a night. Okay. It's up to the other guys to get the job done.
Do you have those are those pieces going to be able to get the job done?
No, Nets are going to have to make some trades, some signings. I heard that Isaiah Thomas actually is getting some interested looks from other teams.
Is that something that the Nets need though? Isaiah Thomas?
We could definitely use a backup facilitator and big men. We need big men.
I feel like that's your issue.
That's
the issue in Brooklyn. It's the front court.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys that can fill those shoes. It's just a matter of the Nets actually picking them up. We also have Reggie Perry and Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton, who's injured. Dude, don't sleep on them. Do not sleep on them.
Talking about this guy, Nick Claxton.
He's an offensive player, but he's good. And Reggie Perry's solid too. He just had a really nice game against but do not sleep on these players. I'm telling you.
Wow. Well, I mean, do you guys want to look at it from the Indiana's point of view, because they were also involved in this trade, and the Cleveland as well? But I mean, I guess you can talk a little bit about Karis LeVert going to the Pacers. You said that you keep saying that the Pacers are not for real. Does this make them like for real now?
It definitely makes them better. Karis LeVert definitely, in my opinion, from watching him play, I think is better fit. Not only fit, but he'll give you more points than Oladipo. His defense isn't that much worse, even though Oladipo is a great defender. This definitely makes them a better team, and they're definitely a playoff team. They definitely do not have what it takes to get anywhere. They're a first-round exit, in my opinion. But they still that's a huge dub for them, getting Karis LeVert.
I agree.
I don't know about the first round exit. It depends what seed they are.
I think Nets. I mean, think like who are 4 teams that are going to move on? Nets, I would imagine, are going to win their first round series.
Celtics.
Probably Philly, whoever they get matched up with. I would imagine the Bucks win their first round series, and then
Well, what if the Bucks and the Pacers are the 4 and 5th seed and have to play each other in the first round, Jorie?
Dude, that would be sick. That would be sick.
Why? Yeah, that's going to be very tough.
I don't know. I think the Pacers are just the same team they were. I feel like Oladipo and LeVert are, LeVert is going to fill the role perfectly.
I agree.
We're gonna see him develop more too, which is, that's good. That's what happened with Oladipo. He was looking pretty solid. Then he went to the Thunder, looked a little bit more solid, and then went to the Pacers, and he turned into a scorer, a decent scorer. I feel like the same thing can happen with LeVert. But yeah, I think the Pacers are looking good. I don't think much will change.
When is TJ Warren supposed to come back?
I didn't even know he was.
Soon. Yeah, they don't have him yet. And they might, I must admit, they might upset somebody in the first round.
Don't forget.
I think they're a first round exit.
Who you're just talking about. Celtics. I
don't think they're upsetting the Celtics.
No, I'm saying, don't forget about the Celtics and the fact that they could also be one of those 4 teams that moves on with the Bucks.
I definitely think they are.
Sixers with the Nets. So that could be those 4 teams.
Like I said, I might be considered a 76ers hater. But I think I like the Celtics' chances more than them.
That's fair. Well, I guess also involved in the trade at a pretty. I mean, this pretty doesn't really matter. The Cavaliers, they got Jared Allen. I mean, I guess it kind of matters.
It was a dub.
Picked up another center.
It was a dub for them. A young center, too.
Shout out Kobe Altman, their general manager. He's been putting in work ever since LeBron left. He got Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro. He traded for Andre Drummond and now Jared Allen. So he's really been grinding for a team that's historically been terrible without LeBron James. He's been doing a pretty solid job building up that team.
Don't be surprised to see one of their big men get traded soon.
Yep, I was just about to say. They need to trade Kevin Love still. I think they should still trade Kevin Love. And I think they should trade Drummond and get some more picks or get like a really solid wing player. Trade for
I like what they have. Like low-key, I feel like they just need like one more piece. They're gonna be set.
I don't know. They have a lot of just same type players.
Nah, I think Sexton and Garland are a nice backcourt.
What are they gonna do with that guy Kevin Porter? Like, I really want that guy to be nice, but they don't play him ever. Like, they never
nice give 6-man. I think he could be a nice 6-man.
That's another situation where I think the team that drafts you sort of is a good I think in a different situation on a different team, he could be a lot better, a lot more recognized than he is coming off the bench in Cleveland. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. I feel like if he was on any other team where he'd get more playing time, he'd be better.
I think he's been out for personal reasons.
Oh, nobody's on his case though. Everybody's on Kyrie.
Well, because again,
I'm just
Kyrie starting point guard.
I know. But I can expect the Cavaliers to trade Andre Drummond too, who, by the way, I believe yesterday he scored 33 and 22 or something.
Destroyed the Knicks.
destroyed the Knicks.
Yeah.
And that terrible call, that terrible no kick ball call.
Yeah.
That really made the Knicks lose.
RJ Barrett's just not like that.
It's just not.
The guy they kicked him. The guy kicked the ball. I think it was Damian Dotson, the old former Knick.
Yeah. Damian or DeMar. I don't remember. So, yeah, that was a terrible ending to that game. Knicks really got screwed.
I don't know about RJ. He's like, based on what I've seen so far this year, he's nice. He can definitely hit the mid range.
Because they don't have
And-
shooters.
He needs to work on his handle a little bit.
All of our shooters are injured.
I also think he's playing the wrong position. I think he's like a 3 or a 4 even.
Well, I think that's what
But
they
took
have him
Obi
at. I think they
Toppin.
have him at 3.
They took Obi Toppin, and it's just those two. They're both good players, but they don't belong on the court together. I don't think because they're
Why not?
Because they're just similar players. They do a lot of the same things.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like
Too much
putting him next to athleticism,
Guys,
putting him with
I
Zion,
kept saying take Tyrese Halliburton. The Knicks would have been so much better this year if they had him.
I wanted us to get Tyrese
Dude.
Maxey, but he went like 2 picks right before us to the Sixers.
I mean,
everybody's got to
Quickly-
chill out on Halliburton.
Quickly was a good pickup.
No, Halliburton's nice.
He's a good shooter, and he has the weirdest shot form ever. But
Okay,
that's-
yeah. It's like a 6th grader.
Outside of like LaMelo, I was like, this is the point guard the Knicks need. But
No, I like Emmanuel quickly, dude.
they went with
quickly.
Yeah, no, I like Quickly. I like him too. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I feel like we covered pretty much everything with this Harden situation. They play in just under an hour, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see them on the court for the first time.
Mhm.
Harden in a Nets jersey.
I said it before, and I said it again. Brooklyn Nets are going to win the finals. Like, it's no debate, really.
No, you're not winning it this year. You might win it next year, but not this year.
Couple more pieces, couple more. She's coming off the bench. She's going to become a lot more recognized name. Chris Chiuza.
Oh, gross.
I mean, gross. He's nice.
Cheese.
TLC. People acted like the
Bruce
Nets
Brown.
have no depth.
No, I
Nets
like,
have
You don't. That guy
I like-
sucks.
I
That
like
guy
Bruce
Yes, he
sucks.
sucks.
I like Bruce Brown though. I do like.
Bruce Brown, he's nice. He's super nice. He's so nice.
I like him.
He gets boards too. And then I said it before, Reggie Perry. And DeAndre Jordan has to step up. I gotta admit it, he's got to step
Yep.
up.
Yep.
But
Well, I mean, they don't really even get that guy involved. They don't like throw lobs to him anymore. Like that guy's
that's
not.
all. That's the only thing he's good for is
And he's not as
occasional
athletic
lob.
as was. He's
And he doesn't play defense. He doesn't get boards.
Yeah, but what do you mean? That guy used to lead the league in getting rebounds.
Yeah, but now
And
because
was
he's
like a top
like,
shot blocker.
out of his
Okay.
prime now.
he gets like
Okay.
3 rebounds a game now.
Like
He's
his
still
his
7 feet tall. Like he's
his
still got to
game
be able
was
to do that.
so reliant on his athleticism. That's what made him so good, or at least,
He
on the
just
surface.
doesn't get in the mix like he should be. He doesn't.
Like that's why I think like a guy like Montrezl Harrell is not going to age very nicely in the league. That's why Kenneth
Well,
he didn't.
No. That guy Montrezl Harrell's got a little bit of game though. He's got a couple moves. He knows how to put on people.
But once his
Kenneth
athleticism goes-
Fareed,
once
the
his
manimal.
athleticism-
I used to think that guy was so sick, Jorie. I was so
No.
mad he went to the Nuggets.
I'm telling you, man, it's all the
It's a damn
same.
shame.
All of them. Their games, people are just so reliant on their athleticism. Once it goes, it's just there goes their career.
Dude, and that should get Kenneth Fareed. What are we doing? What are we saying?
The manimal.
He was on the Nets a couple years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't he on there?
They just, I feel like that's what the Nets need.
You know who should come out of retirement and should go to the Nets?
Reggie Evans.
Carlos Boozer.
Nah, Reggie. Bruh. We need Reggie Evans back.
Shout out Reggie Evans. That guy was hilarious.
That guy was
so much
sick.
fun to watch. That guy just
Mentally.
averaged he literally would average 2 points a game and 13 rebounds. That's all he did. He literally only rebounded the ball. It was hilarious. All right. Well, is that everything? You guys got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I don't think I got nothing.
Word. Well, enjoy the new look Brooklyn Nets, everyone. I'm certainly gonna see if I can watch it. Their first
Next time we see y'all,
yeah, exactly.
everybody will have played for their team.
We'll
their
see
new
how
team.
everything is looking. We'll
Don't sleep
discuss
on the
it.
Hornets.
All right. Peace out.